Welcome back to our channel. In this video, we embark on a deep and detailed exploration of the remarkable journey of Glen Campbell, a legendary country music icon whose life story continues to captivate fans around the globe. Born into a modest farming family in Arkansas, Campbell rose to fame through a rare combination of raw talent, relentless ambition, and fortuitous connections. From strumming a Sears-bought guitar at the tender age of 4 to collaborating with some of the biggest names in the music industry, his life was every bit as inspiring as it was fraught with challenges. Throughout this exploration, we will uncover key moments, relationships, successes, and struggles that shaped his extraordinary path, all while preserving the original content shared in the transcript and expanding on it with deeper insights, historical context, and logical connections to help you, the viewer, appreciate both his accomplishments and the trials he faced along the way. Childhood. Glen Travis Campbell was born on April 22, 1936 in Billstown, a tiny community near Delight in Pike County, Arkansas, to John Wesley and Carrie Del Campbell. He was of Scottish and Irish descent and was the 7th son of 12 children, making for a large family that struggled to make ends meet. The Campbells lived on a farm where they managed to grow cotton, corn, watermelons, and potatoes, though the harsh realities of agricultural labor often meant barely scraping by. Yet, within this humble environment, young Glen discovered something invaluable, a world of music that would ignite his imagination and define his destiny. At just 4 years old, Campbell received a Sears-bought $5 guitar from his father, an investment that would forever shape the trajectory of his life. His uncle, known affectionately as Uncle Boo, introduced him to the fundamentals of playing the guitar. This mentorship was more than just technique. It nurtured Glen's sense of discipline and passion for the craft. He often recalled how most of my family was musical, reflecting a tight-knit clan in which singing and instrument playing were natural parts of daily life. By the age of 6, Glen was already performing on local radio stations, a remarkable feat when considering the limited resources of his rural upbringing. Despite having no formal training, Campbell's dedication to music burned brightly. When he wasn't working in the cotton fields, he devoted his spare time to practicing the guitar. He listened keenly to radio broadcasts and various records, absorbing styles and nuances from different artists. One of his greatest inspirations was Django Reinhardt, whom he famously called the most awesome player I ever heard. This admiration for Reinhardt, a pioneering European jazz guitarist, showcased Glen's openness to influences outside of country music, an openness that would later help him excel as a session musician with tremendous versatility. By 14, Campbell's restlessness and ambition led him to leave school and move to Houston with his brothers, where they worked installing insulation. Later, he even found himself employed at a gas station. These were formative experiences, teaching Glen the value of hard work, perseverance, and self-reliance. Yet something was always calling him back to music. Unfulfilled by menial jobs, he began performing at fairs, church picnics, and singing gospel hymns in church choirs, venues that let him hone his performance chops and further cultivate his stage presence. Around this time, Campbell discovered local radio stations that gave him opportunities to perform. These small yet impactful stints proved that his music had an appeal beyond just family gatherings. Moreover, after his parents moved to Houston, he made appearances in local nightclubs, stepping into an adult-dominated world of gigging musicians eager to make a name for themselves. For a teenager, this shift was monumental. It positioned him as a young talent with the potential to break away from the limitations of rural life and find success through sheer tenacity and skill. From these beginnings in the cotton fields and modest radio shows, Campbell's childhood experiences laid the cornerstone of a career that would span decades. His strong family ties, the rural environment that cultivated simplicity and hard work, and the early exposure to radio performance all coalesced into a drive that propelled him forward. Even before hitting adulthood, Campbell had proven that his dream went beyond fleeting interest. Music was, without a doubt, the guiding force of his life. Family. In 1954, at just 17 years old, Glen Campbell made a life-changing decision. He moved to Albuquerque, New Mexico, to join his uncle's band known as Dick Bills and the Sandia Mountain Boys. This was a significant leap both geographically and personally. For a young performer from rural Arkansas, Albuquerque offered a different cultural landscape and an opportunity to mature artistically. Under the guidance of Dick Bills, Campbell gained invaluable experience playing in live shows, traveling around the region, and learning how to adapt his sound to a variety of audiences. Beyond stage performances, Campbell also landed spots on his uncle's radio show, a local platform that introduced him more formally to broadcasting. This medium allowed him to refine his public persona, experiment with new song arrangements, and connect with a broader segment of fans who relied on radio for entertainment. Additionally, Campbell made appearances on K-Circle B-Time, a children's program on Co-BB television. This was notable for a couple of reasons. First, it showcased his versatility in performing before different types of viewers. And second, it hinted at his emerging ability to connect with people of all ages, a trait that would serve him well later in his expansive career. While these early stints in New Mexico were foundational to his professional development, Campbell's personal life was equally eventful. Over the course of his lifetime, he was married 4 times and fathered 6 sons and 3 daughters. The first traces of this burgeoning family life emerged during his Albuquerque years and beyond, tying his pursuits as a musician to a more complex tapestry of personal relationships. Although these relationships often challenged him, they also supplied the emotional fuel that drove many of his most memorable performances. His large family was not just a product of repeated marriages, it also echoed his upbringing in a household teeming with siblings. Many of his children would later reflect on how Campbell's dedication to music shaped their own artistic paths. In an era when traditional family roles were often at odds with the itinerant lifestyle of a touring musician, Campbell had to juggle fatherhood with an increasingly demanding career. The tensions and triumphs of those responsibilities eventually wove themselves into his public image. The family man, who had grown up singing gospel hymns in church, was now on a national platform, demonstrating that small-town values could coexist with massive commercial success. By the time the 1950s ended, Glen Campbell's career had begun to escalate, setting the stage for his move to one of the largest entertainment capitals in the world, Los Angeles. Yet the seeds sown in Albuquerque, the discipline from working with Dick Bills, the practical experience of live radio and TV, and the early balancing act of music and family, proved crucial as he transitioned into the next chapter. Career early session work. In 1960, Glen Campbell relocated to Los Angeles to become a session musician. This move symbolized more than just a geographical shift. It was the moment he began positioning himself on the national stage. Los Angeles in the early 1960s was a hotbed of musical innovation, with rock and roll, surf music, and the remnants of classic Hollywood film orchestras, all colliding in local studios. Campbell entered this dynamic space with unassuming confidence and a willingness to learn. By October of that year, he had joined the Champs, known for their instrumental hit, Tequila. By January 1961, he found a day job at American Music, a publishing company, where he wrote songs and recorded demos. These demos, often done quickly to showcase new material for prospective artists, would become a key stepping stone. Campbell's adept guitar skills, combined with his vocal range and knack for harmony, made him a sought-after presence for recording sessions. Soon enough, he became affiliated with a group of studio musicians who would go on to be called the Wrecking Crew, a legendary collective that shaped the sound of 1960s American pop and rock music. Among these top-tier session players, Campbell stood out not just for his technique, but for his adaptability. He famously never learned to read music, yet could effortlessly pick up complex chord structures and melodies, often improvising on the spot. This intuitive approach endeared him to producers who needed musicians that could adapt quickly under the high-pressure environment of studio sessions. For a rising talent like Campbell, these experiences were priceless. They exposed him to multiple genres, country, pop, rock, and even orchestral arrangements, and forged connections with notable musicians and producers who would later champion his solo career. First solo breakthroughs. In May 1961, Campbell left the Champs, moving forward to sign with Crest Records, a subsidiary of American Music. His first solo release, Turn Around Look at Me, made a modest but notable dent on the charts, peaking at number 62 on the Hot 100 in 1961. Though not a runaway success, the track set the tone for what audiences could expect from him, a clear, resonant voice coupled with a refined guitar style. Further evidence of the song's staying power emerged in 1968 when the Vogues covered it, taking the single to number 7 on the Hot 100. Although Glen Campbell's version never reached such lofty heights, it validated his instincts. He had a sound people liked, even if it had yet to fully break into the mainstream. After signing with Capitol Records in 1962, Campbell released singles like Too Late to Worry, Too Blue to Cry, and Kentucky Means Paradise, featuring Glen Campbell. A string of underperforming singles and albums followed, which might have dissuaded a less determined artist. Yet by 1963, Campbell's voice and guitar were featured on a staggering 586 recorded songs, some credited, many not, which underscored his prolific session work. The breadth of genres he covered during that period broadened his musical horizons, making him adept at navigating multiple styles with apparent ease, television presence, and collaboration. From 1964 onward, Campbell's presence on television began to grow. He became a regular on programs like Star Route, a syndicated series hosted by Rod Cameron, and ABC's Shindig, which focused on pop and rock acts. He also appeared on Hollywood Jamboree, further establishing his reputation as a versatile performer. Television exposure in the mid-1960s was crucial for any artist seeking mainstream recognition, and Glen Campbell took advantage of it fully. Between December 1964 and early March 1965, Campbell had a stint with the Beach Boys, filling in for Brian Wilson on bass guitar and singing falsetto harmonies when Wilson decided to take a break from touring. This was a pivotal moment. The Beach Boys were already internationally recognized for their distinct California surf rock sound, and stepping in for Brian Wilson was no small feat. Campbell's ability to blend harmonies seamlessly with a group known for its intricate vocal arrangements reflected his adaptability and skill. It also opened doors to further collaboration, including playing guitar on the Beach Boys' groundbreaking 1966 album, Pet Sounds. In 1965, Campbell scored what was, at the time, his biggest solo hit, reaching number 45 on the Hot 100 with a cover of Buffy Sainte-Marie's Universal Soldier. Although the song had a deeply pacifist message, Campbell stirred controversy by stating that individuals advocating the burning of draft cards should be hung. This comment would later gain renewed attention as part of the scandal section of his life, illustrating how his personal viewpoints sometimes diverged from the songs he performed. From session star to leading artist Campbell's session, work remained a significant part of his identity throughout the 1960s. Alongside playing guitar for the Beach Boys on Pet Sounds, he also embarked on a tour with Rick Nelson through the Far East in April 1966, once again showcasing his ability to shift roles, now taking on bass responsibilities. Meanwhile, his collaborative relationship with producer and arranger Al DeLory deepened. Together they achieved an overnight success with Gentle on My Mind in 1967, a track penned by John Hartford. The single's warm reception set off a cascade of hits that would define Campbell's late 1960s era, including By the Time I Get to Phoenix, which soon overshadowed Gentle on My Mind in terms of popularity. The year 1967 also saw Campbell as the uncredited lead vocalist on My World Fell Down by Sagittarius. The track reached number 70 on the Billboard Hot 100, modest by mainstream standards, but important in illustrating the breadth of his session contributions. By 1968, he had hits like I Wanna Live and Wichita Lineman, further propelling him into country and pop stardom. Wichita Lineman, in particular, would become one of his signature songs, lauded for its evocative melody and introspective lyrics, a hallmark of Jimmy Webb's songwriting genius. With success came recognition. Campbell won 4 Grammy Awards for Gentle on My Mind and By the Time I Get to Phoenix. His collaborative synergy with Jimmy Webb generated a run of hits that straddled the line between pop and country, showing a wide audience that these genres could intersect beautifully. That intersection was a boon for Campbell, who found himself topping the country charts while also making inroads on pop radio. Peak fame and movie appearances released in 1968, Wichita Lineman topped out at number 3 on the U.S. pop chart, lingering on the top 100 for 15 weeks, an impressive run that exemplified Campbell's crossover appeal. The song also dominated the American country music chart for 2 weeks and commanded the adult contemporary chart for a solid 6 weeks, ensuring that his presence was felt across multiple radio formats. In 1969, Campbell ventured into acting, performing True Grit, a theme song composed by Elmer Bernstein with lyrics by Don Black, for the movie of the same name in which he co-starred alongside John Wayne and Kim Darby. True Grit was nominated for both an Academy Award for Best Song and a Golden Globe for Best Original Song, thrusting Campbell into Hollywood's limelight. He later appeared in Norwood, 1970, opposite Kim Darby and Joe Namath, further evidence of his growing versatility as not just a singer and musician, but also an entertainer capable of screen performances. The late 1960s and early 1970s were a prolific period for Campbell, yielding a steady stream of singles and albums. During the mid-1970s, he recorded massive hits like Rhinestone Cowboy, Southern Nights, Sunflower, written by Neil Diamond, and Country Boy. Rhinestone Cowboy, in particular, remains one of the cornerstones of Glen Campbell's legacy. It sold over 2 million copies upon its initial release, representing his largest-selling single. Southern Nights, written by Alan Toussaint, became another crossover triumph, thanks partly to Jerry Reed, who helped craft the iconic guitar intro. In 1977, Southern Nights was reportedly the most played jukebox number, underscoring Campbell's knack for feel-good, radio-friendly tunes that transcended strict genre categories. Television hosting and later career. Between 1971 and 1983, Campbell hosted the Los Angeles Open, a renowned professional golf tournament on the PGA Tour. This gig underscored his ability to parlay his entertainment persona into other areas of celebrity culture. Golf, often dubbed a gentleman's sport, offered an environment where Campbell's affable personality could shine. Around the same time, from 1982 to 1983, he anchored a 30-minute syndicated music show aptly named the Glen Campbell Music Show, further solidifying his status as a television personality. In 1991, he lent his voice to Chanticleer the Rooster in Don Bluth's live-action animated film Rock-a-Doodle, demonstrating once again that his talents extended well beyond music alone. During the late 1990s and early 2000s, he appeared on shows like Behind the Music, VH1, Biography, A&E, and a PBS in Concert special, which continued to solidify his image as an American musical icon. He also appeared in multiple CMT programs, receiving accolades among the greatest men of country music. One noteworthy contribution to country music's future was Campbell's role in giving Alan Jackson his first major break. Jackson's early efforts in Nashville included working with Campbell's music publishing business, an association that helped foster Jackson's eventual rise to one of the era's top country stars. Campbell also inspired Keith Urban, who has often cited him as a key influence on his guitar playing, singing style, and career approach. Album releases and final recordings. On August 19th of an unspecified year, the transcript does not provide the exact year, though many sources note it was 2008. Campbell released the album Meet Glen Campbell. This project showcased a different musical direction, one that encompassed covers of artists like Travis, U2, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, Jackson Browne, and Foo Fighters. The album signaled a period of reinvention, as it was the first time in over 15 years that he had released work under Capitol Records. The involvement of musicians from Cheap Trick and Jellyfish illustrated Campbell's eagerness to blend pop rock textures with his distinctive vocal style. A cover of Green Day's Good Riddance, Time of Your Life, led the album's promotion, hitting radio in July 2008 and surprising longtime fans with Campbell's readiness to tackle modern rock tunes. By March 2010, the then farewell album Ghost on the Canvas was announced. Billed as a companion to Meet Glen Campbell, Ghost on the Canvas aimed to cap Campbell's recording career with a reflective tone, blending original material with a few select covers. In January 2013, Campbell entered what would be his final recording sessions. From these sessions emerged his last song, I'm Not Gonna Miss You, released on September 30th, 2014, in conjunction with the 2014 documentary Glen Campbell, I'll Be Me. The documentary, released on October 24th, 2014, took an unflinching look at Campbell's struggle with Alzheimer's disease and his farewell tour. Viewers and critics alike found it both heartwarming and heartbreaking, offering candid insight into the toll of cognitive decline on such a bright, creative mind. In January 2015, I'm Not Gonna Miss You, co-written with Julian Raymond, received an Academy Award nomination for Best Original Song at the 87th Academy Awards. This honor positioned Campbell's final works alongside the best in contemporary film music. By March 2016, public confirmation arrived that Campbell was in the final stages of Alzheimer's, with the star no longer able to recognize even close friends and family. Nonetheless, music would remain at the forefront of his legacy. Announced in April 2017, his final album, featuring 12 songs from the 2012 to 2013 sessions, was eventually released on June 9th, 2017. Though his health had deteriorated significantly by then, the album served as a testament to Campbell's unbreakable spirit and enduring musicality. Candle. In 1965, Campbell released what, at that juncture, was his biggest solo hit, a cover of Buffy Sainte-Marie's Universal Soldier. The single charted at number 45 on the Hot 100. Although the tune itself stood as an anti-war anthem embraced by many pacifists, Campbell's personal perspective diverged sharply. When questioned about its anti-war sentiment, he declared that those advocating the burning of draft cards should be hung. This startling statement, made during an era marked by heated debates over the Vietnam War and civil unrest in the United States, cast a spotlight on Campbell's personal convictions. Onlookers were taken aback by the dissonance between the pacifist message of the track and Campbell's own stance. For some fans, his blunt comment was a betrayal of the song's ethos. For others, it presented him as a figure unafraid to voice his personal views, popular or otherwise. Later in his life, another series of headlines emerged, this time involving matters of the heart. After divorcing Sarah Barg Davis, Campbell became romantically involved with fellow country artist Tanya Tucker. Their relationship quickly became fodder for tabloids, which published frequent gossip pieces portraying the couple's romance as fiery and unpredictable. Despite Tucker's established reputation in the country music scene and Campbell's star power, the intense media glare often overshadowed their respective careers, painting a sometimes unflattering portrait of public quarrels and reconciliations. In many ways, this chapter of Glen Campbell's life underscored how difficult it could be for even the most successful artists to maintain private intimacy under the watchful eyes of reporters and fans alike. From the controversy surrounding Universal Soldier to the turbulent affair with Tanya Tucker, these events highlight a more complicated facet of Campbell's persona. While widely celebrated for his gentle style, warm vocal timbre, and guitar mastery, he was also a man whose strong opinions and turbulent relationships sometimes contradicted his carefully cultivated image as a wholesome country star. In hindsight, such contrasts only added layers to Glen Campbell's public identity, demonstrating that, like many famed artists, he was a tapestry of undeniable talent, personal complexity, and a desire to speak his mind. Marriage. Campbell was married 4 times. In 1955, Campbell married Diane Marie Kirk at the Bernalillo County Courthouse. They had 2 children, Glen Travis Campbell Jr., who was born 2 months prematurely on July 25, 1955, and died a few days later, and Deborah K. Debbie. After a mandatory 12-month separation, they divorced in 1959. On September 20th, 1959, Campbell married Billie Jean Nunley, an Albuquerque beautician, who gave birth to Kelly Glenn, William Travis, and Wesley Kane. Billy Campbell filed for divorce in 1975, and their divorce was final in 1976. On September 2nd, 1976, Campbell married singer Mac Davis's second wife, Sarah Jan Barg Davis, in Carson City, Nevada. They had 1 child named Dylan, and divorced in 1980. Campbell married Kimberly, also known as Kim, Woolen, in 1982. The couple met on a blind date in 1981 when Woolen was a Radio City Music Hall Rockette. Together they had 3 children, Cal, Shannon, and Ashley. All 3 joined Campbell on stage starting in 2010 as part of his touring band. Other relationships. In addition to these marriages, Glen Campbell's career brought him into contact with a vast network of musical peers, collaborators, and protégés. His willingness to experiment in the studio and work across genres made him a rare breed of musician, someone equally comfortable in a Nashville honky-tonk or a Los Angeles rock session. One of Campbell's most significant contributions to country music was his role in kick-starting Alan Jackson's career. Jackson arrived in Nashville as a hopeful songwriter, and it was partly through Campbell's publishing connections that he landed Initial Breaks. This early support is often cited by Jackson as a foundational stepping stone toward his later fame, proving Campbell's importance not just as a musician, but also as a benefactor for emerging talent. Another relationship that spoke volumes about Campbell's influence was with Keith Urban, who repeatedly credited Campbell for inspiring both his vocal approach and his guitar style. Urban's cross-genre success, melding pop sensibilities with country fundamentals, was reminiscent of Campbell's own musical philosophy. Their kinship underlined how Campbell's legacy endured beyond the hits he personally recorded, birthing a lineage of artists who continued to push boundaries. Furthermore, Campbell worked with the Wrecking Crew, a coterie of session musicians that played on countless hits during the 1960s. This cadre included giants like Hal Blaine and Carol Kaye, all of whom recognized Campbell's rare blend of virtuosity and empathy in the studio environment. He was also deeply involved with the Beach Boys, forging bonds that extended beyond mere session work. His relationships with Rick Nelson, Al DeLory, and others in the industry exemplified how he was as much a team player as he was a solo star, a musician devoted to learning from and collaborating with those around him. Death. Glen Campbell died in Nashville, Tennessee, on August 8, 2017, at the age of 81. He had long struggled with Alzheimer's disease, a debilitating illness that robbed him of his memory and cognitive functions in his final years. Nevertheless, he and his family chose to share this struggle publicly, allowing fans an intimate glimpse into his reality through the documentary Glen Campbell, I'll Be Me. That openness sparked broader awareness about Alzheimer's, highlighting the importance of supportive care and early diagnosis. He was laid to rest in the Campbell Family Cemetery in Billstown, Arkansas, returning in the end to the region that had first nurtured his musical spirit. Despite his passing, Glen Campbell's story lives on, woven into the tapestry of American music history. His songs, from Gentle on My Mind to Rhinestone Cowboy, continue to resonate with audiences new and old, many of whom discover in his music the universal themes of love, heartbreak, resilience, and hope. As the transcript fittingly concludes, what remains about him are memories that never fade away, cementing him as one of the era's most memorable and innovative country pop crossover legends. Glen Campbell's life reveals the extraordinary impact that sheer perseverance and a genuine love for music can have on an artist's journey. By delving into every chapter of his life, his childhood, his family ties, his prolific career, and his final recorded moments, we uncover an artist who refused to be confined to any single label or genre. Thank you for joining us in celebrating the achievements and spirit of this iconic musician whose voice and guitar licks still echo across generations and musical boundaries.